Hey, today I wanted to make a video talking a little bit about Resident Evil, its games, its series, and its movies. More specifically, I want to discuss who the real protagonist is, the most important one. Or maybe, to put it in better terms, who is truly the heart of the entire franchise. Now, before anyone jumps in to say there isn't just one protagonist, since even Capcom has officially stated that there are multiple central characters, not just a single one, I still think we can come to a solid conclusion about who holds the most weight in the story overall. Not based on personal favorites, but on influence, presence, and legacy. And that's exactly what we're going to explore today. So if you're into this type of content, let me know with a like. Sit back, get comfortable, and let's dive into it. To start things off, if we take a step back and really think about it, Capcom has always toyed with the idea of having multiple protagonists. You've got Jill, Leon, Claire, Chris, and eventually Ethan, the most recent one. Each of these characters brings something different to the table. Some are more loved by certain fans, some have deeper stories, and others just bring a different energy to the games. And I think that variety is part of the franchise's charm. It's what keeps it feeling fresh. It's fascinating to see how these different characters face the same kinds of threats, bioweapons, deadly viruses, and absolute chaos, and how they each react in their own unique way. No matter who you play as, at some point you're probably going to end up fighting a towering, mutated monster in some horrifying lab or abandoned mansion. So if we really want to name the most important protagonist, I think we have to break it down. First, who carries the emotional and thematic core of Resident Evil? Second, who best represents the fight against Umbrella and all the horrors that came from it? Third, who has the strongest and most meaningful character development over time? And finally, of course, who stands out in terms of popularity and cultural impact among the fans? Because of all these factors, it's not a simple answer, but I'm going to try anyway. Let's start with Chris Redfield. He was one of the originals, the classic, no-nonsense soldier with noble intentions and top-tier combat skills. Now let's be honest, pretty much everyone on this list is well-trained and insanely capable, or they wouldn't have survived this long. But still, Chris set the tone early on. He made his debut in the very first game, back in 1996. From that point, he became a recurring and central figure in the series. We saw him again in Code Veronica, Resident Evil 5, Resident Evil 6, a bit in Resident Evil 7, and then with a massive role in Village. Chris is, in many ways, the symbol of long-term resistance, the never-ending fight. He's the older brother of Claire Redfield, a key member of the original STARS team, and maintains strong bonds with other legendary characters like Jill Valentine and Barry Burton. Chris is the kind of character who keeps going no matter what. Capcom itself and many longtime fans see him as one of the franchise's core figures. When he was just 25, Chris survived the infamous Spencer Mansion incident, an event that shook him to his core. From that moment on, he became deeply committed to stopping Umbrella and bringing justice to those responsible, especially Albert Wesker, his former captain, who betrayed and manipulated his entire team for his own twisted goals. But then, of course, we've got Leon S. Kennedy, and this is where things really start to get interesting. Leon began his story as just another rookie. In Resident Evil 2, he's a brand new police officer reporting for his first day on the job, only to walk straight into the nightmare that was Raccoon City. Talk about bad timing. Upon arriving, he's immediately thrust into chaos. The city is collapsing under the outbreak of the T-virus. Monsters, death, and destruction are everywhere. And despite being completely unprepared, Leon rises to the occasion. Alongside Claire Redfield and young Sherry Birkin, the daughter of an Umbrella scientist, he manages to survive one of the worst outbreaks in the franchise. But what makes Leon stand out isn't just his survival, it's what he becomes afterward. He doesn't go back to being a regular cop. Instead, he's recruited by the US government and becomes a secret agent tasked with high-risk, high-stakes missions, like protecting the president's family. From that moment on, Leon's evolution is just insane. He goes on to battle global threats, face new forms of bioweapons, and prevent disasters on a massive scale. Resident Evil 4, where Leon is the main character, is without question one of the most iconic entries in the entire franchise. And Leon, he's its face. He's the guy on the cover. That alone carries a lot of weight. Honestly, if you were to walk down the street and ask random people who the hero of Resident Evil is, most would probably say Leon without even thinking about it. Next up is Jill Valentine. She's the second playable character in the series and the first female character you could control. She appeared right alongside Chris in the first game, and has remained a crucial part of the franchise ever since. Jill has been in multiple games, movies, comics, and even novels. She's more than just a recognizable face. She's foundational to the story of Resident Evil. She was one of the first people to see what Umbrella was doing. She was in the Spencer Mansion during that original nightmare. She's been fighting this battle since the beginning. Jill doesn't have a massive organization behind her, no high-tech squad. She was always more about standing her ground alone, doing what's right with whatever tools she had. That's why so many fans connect with her. She represents the individual struggle against a corrupt system. Jill, more than almost anyone, captures that survival horror vibe that defined the early Resident Evil games. You feel the fear with her, the desperation, and the will to fight back anyway. Then there's Claire Redfield. She's not a soldier or an agent or anything like that. She's just a regular person who got thrown into all this while searching for her brother. In Resident Evil 2 and Code Veronica, Claire shows incredible bravery. She doesn't have training, but she doesn't back down. She adapts, she fights, and she survives. Her journey is very human. It makes you wonder, what would you do in that situation? Claire gives us the most grounded perspective. She's a survivor, yes, but more importantly, she's someone we can actually relate to. She's also been part of several other titles and movies, like Degeneration, The Dark Side Chronicles, and Operation Raccoon City. She's one of the few who survived the Raccoon City disaster and lived to tell the tale. Before all this started, she was just a university student. No combat background, no secret past. Just a sister looking for her brother. But the horrors she witnessed changed her forever. Now, I know I'm skipping over a ton of events, games, and movie appearances for each character. But my goal here is to give you a strong overall picture to help us understand who really stands at the center of the saga. And lastly, we have Ethan Winters, the most recent lead, and without a doubt, a breath of fresh air. Ethan brought the franchise back to its horror roots with Resident Evil 7 and Village. His story was more personal, more intimate. It wasn't about saving the world, it was about saving his family, and that made the terror feel much closer to home. For some fans, Ethan was the spark that revitalized the franchise. For others, he never quite matched the iconic presence of Leon or Jill. Still, you can't deny how much he went through. He endured immense pain, loss, and suffering, and kept going. He fought grotesque monsters, faced impossible odds, and became a literal force of resilience. Ethan was unshakable. He would do anything to protect those he loved, even if it meant sacrificing himself. All of these characters have changed over time. Chris grows older, becomes more hardened, sometimes even more brutal, but he never stops fighting. Leon becomes more jaded, more sarcastic, but he keeps showing up when he's needed. Their motivations, though, are all a bit different. Chris is driven by guilt. He believes he failed at Raccoon City, and he swore never to let that happen again. Jill is driven by freedom. She refuses to be a pawn or a victim. Leon is motivated by duty. He knows someone has to do the dirty work, and he steps up. Claire wants to protect the innocent, especially kids like Sherry. And Ethan is all about family. Everything he does is for them. And then, of course, there's the fan base. Leon is by far the most globally popular thanks to Resident Evil 2 and 4. Chris has his classic fans, and those who love the ultra-jacked version from Resident Evil 5. Jill is iconic, especially for the veteran players who grew up with the franchise. Claire connects deeply with fans who appreciate emotional depth and humanity. And Ethan, despite initial criticism, eventually earned his place in the hearts of many through Village. So now that we've taken a deeper look at each of them, let's go back to that original question. In my personal opinion, while also trying to be fair and reasonable, I think everyone's going to have a different answer. And that's okay. But if you were to push me to choose just one, I'd go with Leon because of everything I mentioned above. His growth, his presence, and his impact. That said, I totally respect if you disagree. We all have our own perspectives, and that's what makes these discussions so great. But now, I want to hear from you. What do you think? Do you agree with me, or do you believe someone else is the true heart of Resident Evil? Let me know in the comments. I always read them. And if you made it this far, thank you. Don't forget to drop a like and subscribe for more Resident Evil content and more videos like this. Hope to see you in the next one.